Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Wednesday, October 22nd, and we're back for Web3 101 Wednesday. It's your place for helpful news, commentary, and answers to the crypto questions you were too ashamed to ask somewhere else. No such thing as a stupid question here. I'm Evan Mann. He's Alex Popovich. And today we are joined by Will ? What happened to him? No, it's our friend Ski. You might know him as your boy Ski on TikTok or Ski's Crypto. Or maybe you're watching him because you too have an obsession with Cleveland sports. But either way, we are so glad he's here. Welcome to the show, our friend Ski. How you been?
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Pleasure's all mine.
Dude, for the folks who don't know you, I gave you a little, I rugged you a little. You have phrased it to me as you have it's your addiction. Addiction to, how do you say it?
I'm tired of the misery of crypto, so I've decided to be a Cleveland Browns fan.
Man, I did see that video.
It's my guilty pleasure. Yeah, go ahead.
With your daughter's first game.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Man, that must have been so cool getting to be there with her and experience like the roar of the crowd together. Did she have a good time?
Yeah, I've been a Cleveland Browns fan since my grandpa told me the history of the Browns. When I was like a little boy, I might have been like 9 or 10 years old when I started watching football. And at all my years watching football, my favorite moment ever as a Browns fan was last Sunday when we were going in the stairwell and she started leading the Browns chant, and like everybody just like embraced her. And that was the best moment as my Browns fan life. Got to be honest. It was awesome.
That's very cool. What is the story of the Browns? I don't know the story. The way you said it made it sound like epic.
Well, you kind of have this, there's a lot of history with the Browns, and I know this is a crypto show, so I'll give the brief history, but out of all of the historic franchises, we have this negative connotation with the Browns because they've sucked in the 2000s, but really it was because of one man, Bart Modell, and he was the owner, and he owned the Cleveland Browns back in the 60s. But back then you didn't have to be like a multi-billionaire like now. So he would just you could just own a radio show or whatever, and you could own an NFL team. And basically he was poor for an NFL owner, and he sold the rights because he couldn't pay for the contract to the Baltimore Ravens. And from that moment, it's taken us, we're still 25 years later, or 30 years later, we're still recovering. But as far as like historic franchises, championships, the Cleveland Browns have the second most championships out of any franchise. So fun little fact.
Okay, Cleveland. It's funny because when I asked for the Browns history, Robot Stecklerish in our comments said the story is they're terrible. And we also have other football fans in the comments saying, I'm a Steelers fan, but we can be cool on the Rise Up Morning Show. So, thank you.
We'll be cool.
See, and I'm just here to celebrate everyone else's teams and their fandoms and whatever, because I'm a Detroit fan. And it's also a hard, sad life. They build us up so high every season, and then they rug us.
Yeah, to me it's the Alex Jones, like, I like the pain. That's me every Sunday.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, every Sunday now is, or every week I should say now, is just this year. We can do it this year. This is it for us.
This is our year.
We know it's not. But a girl can dream.
So for the folks who don't know, I think a lot of friends in our audience are familiar with your work, but would you mind giving an introduction in case somebody catches this and sees you for the first time? Who are you? How'd you come to be interested in cryptocurrency?
My name's your boy Ski, or my name's Devin. Gajewski is my last name, and when I was in basic training, so I did 10 years active duty in the Army. Drill sergeant called me Ski, and it stuck from there. And my friends, have always been entrepreneurial. So we would always have a joke. It'd be like, like I'd have all these like business ventures, business ideas. So it'd be like Skis Pizza, Skis Tacos, Skis Fitness.
Yeah.
So it just became your boy Ski, and it just kind of stuck. I've been in crypto since 2013. Pretty dumb reason why I was into crypto back then. I was just an idiot high school kid who didn't know anything about life, let alone, money or crypto or anything like that. Some silly little rocket ship ride game where if you rode a rocket, you bet $10. If it went 1, 2, 3x, you 3x your money. But if it blew up, then you lost all your money. And they were giving, in hindsight, they would give you free Bitcoin every single day. And today it was like, tens of thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin that they were giving away every day to just show up and play the game. But that was, degenerate, idiots, silliness. But I got serious about it probably about 2016. I started really reading up on it. And the more that I read about it, the more that I learned about it, I was like, okay, this is serious. This is a big deal here. And I should be, I should learn as much as I can. And just my type of personality is like, if I get interested in something, like I need to follow the rabbit hole as far as we can go. And so that's what I did. And I really just immersed myself. Made all the mistakes. 2017, I bought the top on, lots of stuff. I'm still down to this day on Dash. I'm still down to this day on EOS. Made all the mistakes. I FOMO'd in. If you were to time it up, I timed it up to, just buy the top and sell the bottom as if I was like it was my job, like I was a trader, but I was reverse trading myself. So all the mistakes that I preach on, is like I lived it. I did it. And then, and the big difference, though, I think was in 2018 where I made my big jump was like, instead of getting the shiny object syndrome where you go do drop shipping or you go do real estate or you go do whatever, I really like immersed myself even more and really, delved in and kind of refined my processes. And 2021 was the first bull market that I really made good money. I bought Bitcoin, 5, 6, 7K all through that. And I sold probably around the average of 50K. I'm known for my TA. I'm known for my other friend, Alex, World War Bitcoin. He shout out to him. He calls me the master bottom feeler because I have a sense, throughout the whole last 4 years, I have bet my beard many times that the bottom is in, and my beard keeps growing. So that is I'm known for Wyckoff and vibes. That's how I view the market.
Isn't Wyckoff named after somebody also, Devin?
It's Richard D. Wyckoff. So
maybe
Dick Wyckoff.
Dick Wyckoff. That's right.
To me, that's the GOAT. I hear, I listen to you guys time to time, hear Alex kind of putting his tinfoil hat on and viewing the market through the lens of the apex predator and, it's manipulated and all this and that. And to me, that's my favorite part about Wyckoff is it just like, it views the show, or it views the market through the lens that it is corrupted, that it is manipulated, that there is apex predators at the top, the puppet masters pulling the strings. And it's a way of, sort of marking out step by step what that means.
I gotcha.
So.
Now, I want to get to a couple of questions in the audience, but since there are a couple of folks talking about it, I wanted to invite you to tell the story because Alex had never heard it, how you became the accidental top holder of a giant meme coin and how you resolved to make right by this community.
Yeah, I saw somebody say that I scam people with Solnic, and to that I would
context,
say, yeah,
because you're in the lion's den with this one. I notoriously and aggressively despise influencer tokens for a whole lot of reasons. I'm not going to bore us all with the rant again.
For good reasons.
They are good reasons. I'm changing none of those opinions. In fact, they're getting stronger by the day, especially given how base has gone with the whole creator coin thing. Jesse, I'm looking at you. So when I say that this is genuinely an interesting story and I had no idea, because I will admit that I had you in that category because I thought you made it. And I just, to be very honest, I just didn't care to like dig that any further. But it's an interesting story. So I just wanted to give some context to people who have heard me lambast influencer tokens for the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, so I did not create Solnic. I accidentally CTO'd it. And the story with that is, is I made, thousands of videos in the bear market, trying to help regular people, because that's my mission. Just like you guys talked about the soccer moms. To me, I get up in the morning, thrilled to do what I do to help regular people, because I was a regular person who didn't have a light at the end of the tunnel, who was working, 80 hours plus a week for 5 straight years to try to just provide a better life for my family. So I know what it's like on the other side of the table. I know what it's like to grow up in abject poverty. I know what it's like to have, struggles and trials and tribulations of, just really deep, corrupt things. And so that's what I get up for. And that's what makes me thrilled to just like be alive, is to help regular people, whether it's like, police officers, firemen, service members, teachers, just regular moms, dads, whatever. That is what I am here for, because that is what I view myself as. So the story is with Solnic is I made, thousands of videos in the bear market, called the bottom on the day, video evidence, November 8th, 2022. I said I would shave my beard if we went lower than $15,000, or shave my head. At the time I didn't have a beard at the time. If we went lower than $15,000, because everybody and their mother and their brother was saying that we were going to 12K, 10K, 12K, whatever. And, so I helped tens of thousands of people make tens of thousands of dollars, and maybe not life-changing money, but definitely car-changing money, as I like to call it. And, along the way, I was doing consultations with people and trying to help people set up their portfolios, help people have an exit strategy, have a plan in place. And one of my clients had one of his wallets wiped for $6,000. And, that was a substantial amount of money for him. And basically, he was very worried about the rest of his portfolio, because he had a pretty substantial portfolio, and, I told him to get a ledger, and I always preach this, or some hardware wallet. If you own $1,000 worth of crypto, your next $100 should be a hardware wallet. It's just that plain and simple to me. That is a law, if you will. So anyways, I told him to order it from the official site, not from Amazon, not from Best Buy, any of this stuff. And long story short, while he was waiting, we decided, which in hindsight, that we could have done things differently, but it was kind of a high stress. This is his whole entire lineage that he's worried about being compromised. And so he sent me all of his money, and I held his money for him until he got a ledger. And while I was holding it, it was actually pumping. And by the time I sent it back, it was over $1 million, and I never asked for a single dollar. And not that I'm like, I'm a flawed human, just like everybody. Okay. Like, I'm a human being. I have flaws, but I do believe in doing right by people. And I do believe in karma, and I do believe what goes around comes around. And, if you guys know, like in crypto, if I was not these ethos, that is as good as mine. But the thought never even crossed my mind, because I believe if you take from someone, it will be taken upon you 3 times over. And, that is just how the math works out. And so fast forward, because of this, there was a project that was, had already sort of pumped and dumped. And, for his gratitude, he made me one of the largest holders of Solnic. Okay. And then, on a live stream, I just like, hey, I have this thing now. So I didn't create Solnic. I was like, hey, I have this thing now. Like, ha ha ha, whatever. I guess we have this thing now, right? And we went from like 40K market cap all the way to 300K market cap in a single live stream. And I was like, oh, people have real money in this, and I need to be for real about this. This is not a game. This is not a joke. And people were accusing me of doing all the things like using my audience for to make money, and I was just like, man, like it angered me. It made me, it's like, man, that is the entire opposite ethos of what I set out to do, and I refuse to put myself in that category. So I just decided like it's okay, like I became the CEO of this. Whether for better or for worse, we are now married. I have now stamped my name on this thing. And so I'm going to, I have two options. As like, I can tarnish my name, or I can make this as awesome as I possibly can. And I chose the latter, and I chose to dox myself. 6 low. If you look on the holders, that's my wallet. You can see how many times I've sold Solnic. The answer is 0. Spoiler alert. 0 times have I sold any Solnic. In fact, I've given away $500,000 US, not Solnic, US dollars worth of Solnic away to my audience as giveaways for staking. And we just decided to make it as awesome as we can. And we've evolved from a meme coin to Memify, the BYOB movement, which is be your own bank. And so we've evolved into Memify, which is where it's a meme coin that also has DeFi dApps. So we have staking. We're building a lending protocol. We're building a swap, liquidity mining, all these things. And we're shooting a documentary called BYOB, where I go over into my hometown, the small Midwestern hometown, and it shows the ruins of the 2008 financial crisis. A lot of people know about the story of, Bitcoin, but less people know, like, here's where big banks, here's where big pharma left these small Midwestern towns where I grew up, and how it's wrecked to this day, and what it means to me, why it's so important to me to BYOB, to be your own bank. Because guess what? Big banks, they don't care about you or me. They got bailed out. We bailed them out. We literally paid billions and billions of dollars so that they could wreck our dollar, so they could wreck our economy, so that they could wreck, the big pharma, the big banks. Is just like my hometown to this day is wrecked. To this day is wrecked. And that's what it means to me to BYOB. And that's why it's so important to me that, we build these things.
So I will maintain that I'm hung up on like one aspect of this whole thing, because in general, from a theoretical standpoint, I'm a big fan of using and leveraging the technology that Web3 has given all of us to do things, take back control, especially over finances, an area where we have lost it largely to all sorts of different things over the years, getting progressively worse. Really, honestly, truly, no end in sight. And actually, there's an interesting topic I want to get into after we wrap this one up.
Sure.
The problem is, especially when a public figure of really any size gets involved, you have to remember this one thing. You have fans. Those fans express their loyalty to creators that they love by supporting those creators in whatever way they either can or they feel is the most impactful. When you add a liquid cryptocurrency of all things to the equation, it becomes a vehicle for people who love you to show their support. The problem is that same pile, that same asset, that same thing is accessible to people who have no desire to support you whatsoever, and see a PvP market landscape, because that's what memes are, wherein they have the easiest to fleece group of holders of all time, because those people are not going to be swayed by price action because they love the person who's at the helm. Regardless of whether or not someone creates a thing, it ends up that way. Just because, I mean, for look at how long it took you to give the context for that. And you know as well as I do that you have about half a second to get someone's attention with a TikTok video. Not being hyperbolic, that's about statistically what it is. the end result has yet to be different, wherein the most dedicated, loyal supporters, followers, fans, community members are the ones who just show up to this thing, participate in it, try to make it what everyone wants it to be, only to just get hung out to dry and fleeced repeatedly forever as that market gets eviscerated by people who couldn't give less of a shit about you.
A great story and a great impetus and a great goal and a great philosophy, and all of these things just tend to fall by the wayside because of that. To that, I would say I don't recommend generally people buy memes. And, I'm not here to, I saw Crypto Glenn, who's been one of my biggest haters throughout this whole process, I have video evidence on many different coins of, calling the bottom, tens of thousands of videos I made at this point. So he's a hater. He's been a hater for my work, and that's fine. But to that, I would say, I don't recommend people, like you say, for every one like ski, there's 10,000 people that don't care about their audience. And he said the good guy. I started this whole thing with, I am a flawed human being. I am a flawed human being. If you're looking for me to the answer, as my Pentecostal pastor once said, then you can go to hell, because I'm not. Like, I put on pants one leg at a time, just like everybody. But to your point, though, it's like, show me a sub $10 million market cap coin that has the chart. Like, the chart speaks for itself. Show me a sub $10 million market cap coin that has a chart over 18 months at this point of putting in higher highs and higher lows. And they don't exist because, for most memes, and that's not even what we're trying to be anymore. We're not even trying to be a meme. We're trying to be memeify, which is DeFi. That is, sort of a meme, if you will. But, most of them make it about 90 days, and then that's it. We've had multiple runs. We've had multiple reaccumulations. We've had multiple parabolic rises. We've had multiple distributions. We've had multiple accumulations, and doing the whole thing again and again and again. And, and that's what I'm going to do. It's like, I know that I put my name on this, and I know that there's no way of proving that I am genuine or what I say is true, other than just time and just continuing to build awesome dApps and continuing to build awesome products that serve as many people as they can.
I have a quick question on that. There are some things that, you say nobody can know, but that's the great thing, is we don't have to trust. We can verify pretty well a lot of this.
Exactly.
And I just want to give you a chance to address some of the other things that are coming up in the comments, because people are really active about this. Glenn, I appreciate you. Since he's not on stage, I want to, try and address these as concisely as possible. Somebody said that you created other wallets, bought the token, and made claims like it'll go to $1 to push people to buy, and then sold on your followers. One person said you bought from other wallets, sold from other wallets, and then bought your farm with your profits. Do you want to address that?
I bought my farm with XRP. I accumulated XRP for 5+ years. I know you guys don't love XRP. Publicly, I sold XRP.
XRP is fine. I think you can make a lot of money on it. I just don't love the lack of helpful education around it. Please continue.
Yeah. So, I was in the Army for 10 years, and every weekend I was doing DoorDash, Lyft, and I was doing my YouTube channel. And for 5 years, I lived frugally. To this day, I still drive a 2009 Toyota Camry. I'm not balling out of control. I care about my family. And, for 5+ years, I worked 80+ hours per week for many years. I accumulated Bitcoin. I accumulated XRP. To this day, Bitcoin is still my biggest holding. And, my plan was to sell at $3.33. And that's what I did. So I accumulated under 30 cents and I sold at $3.33. That was my plan all along. The plan was 30%, but we went over budget on my farm. The farm was $200,000 or $189,000 actually. So if you take the track record and how like Lyft is in Nashville, like you've been there, like doing this for 5 years, living as frugally as I can. That's the whole point, is like, this isn't a unattainable thing for regular people if you're consistent, disciplined.
Sure. Do you care to address the claims that you bought Solnic from other wallets and then sold it?
I've given away 500,000 US dollars to my audience. That's what I've done. All my wallets are public. I have two main wallets and I have split them. The one is for the staking and the one is 6 low. I have two main wallets. That is it. So no, that's not true. And like the chart wouldn't, if I rugged my audience, the chart would not look the way that it does. It wouldn't. Like it's not possible to go from 50K market cap to bottoming again for the third time at $4 million market cap.
The problem is, because this very particular accusation is one that I've talked about a lot, not with yours necessarily specifically, but in general. It's a tried and true methodology for skimming when you are like maintaining a publicly doxed wallet, and sadly it's just like next to impossible to verify, because at this point you just got to take someone's word for it. Like, I agree, these things are on chain and you could find wallets and you could do the whole thing, but if someone has a second off ramp and a wallet that doesn't touch the first wallet, then
if you want to, okay, if you guys are asking me, like, I'm saying that I'm a flawed individual just like everybody. I'm a human being just like everybody. If you're asking me, how am I making my money from Solnic if I'm not selling it? If that is the most 1 and 2 A plus B equals C question, then the answer would be we have bridged to other platforms such as Base and such as AVAX. All of those liquidity pools are mine. So if people buy or sell, I'm making money from the liquidity pools. I have liquidity pools on Solana. I have liquidity pools on Base. I have liquidity pools on AVAX. So I make money if people buy or sell, either or. And I also make money by talking about it because I'm a professional yapper. I speak fluent Japanese.
Well, I appreciate you addressing people's criticisms. I didn't invite you here to put you in a super hot seat. I know it's not easy to handle difficult questions, but I also know you don't mind being able to do this, and I wanted to give you a chance to address that because I think it's important to be able to speak to those things when they come up. Anybody can say anything they want from the comments, and it takes a lot of guts to stand up and face the crowds. I would be curious to know, as folks bring their questions in, could you, Alex, tell us what your other thought was, because I don't want you to forget it. You said, remind me, I've got somewhere else I want to go. On the way, I want to explain to our Web3 101 folks this idea of a liquidity pool, to say that one of the cool things about crypto is that you can trade 24/7 and that you can do it assisted by computer programming. The way you might rely on a calculator to do difficult math for you, or just tedious math because you don't want to make a sloppy mistake, you can rely on a piece of computer code called a liquidity pool to swap one digital asset for another. And then the person who hosts that pool, they can build it in such a way that they can generate a fee for themselves or other people. So when you swap in or out of this or that token, it generates a fee for the people who are making that market, who are hosting it for you. It's less usually than the fees of a bank. It's more convenient. It's faster. And it's one of those things that if you want to learn more about, I really would recommend you jump into the Rise Up community. It's community.rumshq.com, or while we're here live, ask us in a follow-up question. Alex, did that give you enough time to recall what it was you wanted to take us to?
Yeah, and this is less about recalling and more about just like a rabbit hole that I'm going down now. I've had a conversation with a friend of mine, Emily, actually, who's been on the show before. Been in and around crypto for a long time. She's actually an economist, like by education and training, and now just does crypto things because that's what happens here. And she's been kind of running like economic models and chasing this rabbit down many different holes about the Genius Act specifically. And it's funny, I became interested because she DM'd me saying like, hey, have you guys talked about Genius? We should talk about Genius because Genius sucks. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess I'd be lying if I said I really cared about the Genius Act, because I don't. I think it was like really blown out of proportion, and I don't think most people who think it's amazing have read it personally. And my point was like, I'm way more interested in clarity, which is not a thing yet. And I'm not really going to start paying attention until someone solves the double tax problem for people who work in crypto, because it's ridiculous, and we haven't even gotten an acknowledgement that it's ridiculous. And her point was, well, if basically the main like keystone piece in the Genius Act is that stablecoin issuers can't pay interest, or like you can't pay out interest on stablecoins, on the holdings of stablecoin backings, all these sorts of things. And there's, yeah, sure, a myriad of things that you can hold to back these things, but through the laws of incentive, nothing makes sense to hold except for treasury bills. And she basically built out this eventuality wherein in the future, large-scale financial institutions, and in this conversation, we're including things like Starbucks and Walmart that are not necessarily traditional financial institutions, but are giant corporations with tremendous amounts of money who could absolutely, under the provisions here, launch a stablecoin, back it with treasury bills, buy tons of them, make never-ending money arbitraging those treasury bills, earn the yield from it, keep all of it because it's tied up in their stablecoin, which they then are protected from paying yield on through Genius, and basically remove all of the treasury bill, basically crippling the Fed. Just like draining all of those reserves out, shifting the custody of the dollar and all of what quote unquote backs it from the Fed to private corporations.
Yeah, to stablecoin treasuries, effectively.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And how this would be, you could theoretically collapse the dollar by doing that. And then it would come down to a matter of incentive and motive for, why would someone do that? What would the end goal be? And that's kind of where I got lost, and I'm not an economist. So I was like, okay, I clearly need to like learn things to have this conversation, because right now I'm just sort of saying, interesting.
This engine seems to be made out of engine.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, the one thing that I do agree with her wholeheartedly on is that a lot of the people involved in writing and passing Genius probably don't really understand it and haven't taken the time to become educated about the eventuality here, or the ramifications of handling these things one way, or shifting the way that money and dollars can be owned and custodied, and all this sort of stuff. And it seems, I don't know, man. It's a scary rabbit hole to go down, because the eventuality is quite terrifying. And it kind of relies on like the good nature of corporations to just like protect someone other than them. And the interesting piece is that the theoretical fix to this potential problem is quite literally just allowing interest payments and by issuers, so that you could spark competition there. And my counterpoint to this whole thing was that in this world, DeFi fixes it, and the only reason that it won't is a lack of education, because it's hard to use. And you know what?
Go ahead. I have a question.
But the cherry on top is I'll do my best with clarifying questions, because like I said, I told Emily, like, you've got to come on and you've got to like streamline this thought process and write it down and like send it to me, and then you've got to come on and talk about it, because like I'm not the best person to do this. But I said I would bring it up and just plant the seed and encourage people to read about it, as I'm doing right now, just because I think it's an interesting problem to chase. But the cherry on top of this whole thing is that, what I ended up kind of, I'm like flip-flopping really hard. Flip-flopping is the wrong word. I'm aggressively acquiring more information that is informing my opinion on this whole UX dilemma debate that we've been discussing, wherein, at first we could all say, yes, UX is a huge problem. Then I stated, and honestly still mostly believe, that most crypto projects crutch on bad UX as a reason that they're not getting any customers, when really they just built a stupid business that no one cares about, and they don't have product market fit. Now back to the idea that the experience of DeFi being prohibitive and the lack of education on the topic about self-custody and wallet management and all these sorts of things is the biggest ingredient keeping people out of using DeFi protocols to custody their own money, be their own bank, all that sort of stuff. And inevitably that could contribute to the downfall of the dollar, which still to this day backs everything. Her point was you still ask you ask a Bitcoin maxi on Twitter, well, what is their Bitcoin really worth, and they're probably going to give you an answer that includes a dollar figure. And it's like, okay, so to you, Bitcoin is still worth dollars
until it's not.
Until it's not, but at this point, it is. And
it is
we're
now.
A hot
but
minute away from that mentality shifting.
Yeah, you make a point of like the dollar collapsing. To me, 1971, that was when there's two big fundamental shifts in the marketplace as we know it today, and it's 1971 and it's 2008. 2008 obviously being when quantitative easing started, and then 1971 was when we removed the dollar from the gold standard. And since we've removed the dollar from the gold standard, we've lost 98% of the purchasing power since that day. And it's like, if my crypto was down 98%, I would be pissed. You know what I mean? But we just like accept that because it's just this Chinese water torture, and we just kind of don't like it's the water eroding at the rock, and we don't notice the collapse. But I noticed in 2020, they told me that 2022 rather, excuse me. I have a family of 5. I noticed for a fact I was eating well with steak for $150 a week. And then they call it 8.3% inflation, but my food bill doubled. I don't know if that happened to you guys, but that definitely happened to me. So to me, it's already collapsed. It's just the uncomfortable truth, the elephant in the room that no one is really coming to. We want a comfortable lie rather than the uncomfortable truth.
Well, and just to be clear too, I mean like a real collapse, not a shifting of like what backs it from something more tangible to just like because what backs the US dollar right now, largely it's the threat of violence and it's the fear of power, or the intimidation rather of higher power. And war. If you run too many things at the same time that attack all of these different various institutions that hold this house of cards up, because let's be honest, a lot of I truly believe that at this point we are dancing dangerously close to too many terrible things that could crater. I mean, if you want to just talk about it in terms of markets, that could crater markets because we've never tangled with them as a country before. We are largely like a very young country, and these things are scary. And like you mentioned, the backing of this whole institution of the dollar has changed dramatically. Now, it still stands that the single most useful thing you can have in your pocket if you're stuck pretty much anywhere in the world is a couple $100 of dollars, cash, because they'll get you out of most problems in most places around the world. But I just don't know that we are all like spiritually ready to tangle with the conundrum of like what would it actually take to tip the scales in a different direction and start a slide, because slides can be fast and aggressive.
I don't know that. Go ahead.
I just have a clarifying question to make sure I understand, and I know you're not Emily, so you're just representing. Are you saying
I'll do my best
that Emily said that people using stablecoins, specifically stablecoins that back their value with like treasury bills to some extent, that if they use the profits to buy more treasury bills, that they're gonna like own the control of the currency? Is that like what you're saying? Like basically own a massive share of the U.S. Treasury market more than the.
But
is that
yes,
what she's?
But I understood it to be multifaceted, because then you have like a vehicle for continuous profit printing through the owning of the arbitrage vehicles to buy and sell treasury bills to keep peg. And then this is so not 101. I really don't want to like linger on it too much, because
I'll have to talk to Emily about it, because I don't think that's correct, because the government, like, they control how many treasury bills are issued, and really Circle or any company is not limited by like, they're limited by customer deposits. Like Circle issues $1 of USDC only when someone deposits $1. And so then they buy a treasury bill.
You're talking about it. You're talking about a different kind of issuer. And I will say that naturally skeptical And I think there's way too much to lose for this house of cards to just like come down on accident because like someone didn't plan properly. But I would also admit that maybe I just don't understand the nefarious plan.
Yep.
And I would encourage like a debate like with one of those, you know, LLMs or something to like chase things and, you know, ask questions like this. And I would say we can leave it here because I'm not educated enough to like continue or defend the position.
That's fine.
It's not a position that like I hold or came up with or anything.
So someone said I just wanted to address a comment. Someone said 8.8% inflation is laughable. That was the reported number in 2022. 8.3% is where it peaked out at. So that's what I was referring to.
But also, it's been called the elephant in the room. Alex has said multiple times that doesn't take into account like the debasement of currency. Inflation is one thing, debasement is another, and a lot of this stuff is underreported. I think we're 100%. All in agreement. You know, for people who are watching us for the first time, like, you know, we think that the demise of the dollar is probably inevitable. Alex often wears a shirt that has the slogan he coined, USDC to $2, reflecting that stablecoins, for example, as one kind of crypto instrument, give money worth $1 a lot more value because you can use it in more places to do more things. I do want to take a second and pivot to some audience questions because we've been going back and forth on a lot of our agenda here today. And
sorry, before you pivot, let me just wrap this up with like what would be the research point to chase this down further. The thing that I would like to leave everybody with, as the government gets more involved in this industry, reading and understanding the nuance created by legislation is incredibly important. There's nothing clean about the legislative process in the United States. It's a very well-known, well-established, and well-admitted to by the participants fact that most people who pass these laws do not know what's in them. The only people who really know what goes into all these things are the staffers, and they're not voting. So just every time a new law is passed, I would beg that people understand that just because something that seems like on its surface or for which the bumper sticker seems bullish doesn't necessarily mean that this is a good thing. So just accepting that stablecoin legislation in the form of Genius is definitely good is naive. And I would say the same thing about Clarity. I would say the same thing about quite literally any piece of proposed legislation that is not cut and dry on a single page that simply says the, you know, constitutional amendment style, the right to self-custody your own money shall not be infringed. Like that kind of thing that could be cut and dry. And even then, we open ourselves up to nuance. So really, if I leave you with anything, it's just always be skeptical and please read the bills. It's long, it's boring, they suck to read. They are written that way on purpose to keep people confused, to open the door for perpetual debate that never ends. But just read the bills because they're not always good and they're not always what they seem. And they're certainly not what politicians tell you they are.
I want to have Rebecca, the chief legal officer from Jito, on the show because she was on the chopping block. She's been around the crypto space on the Twitter sphere talking about how these bills were built, how they changed over time. She made it her like hobby in addition to her job to read Genius and the Clarity Act through all their different iterations and then talk to people about them. And I found it to be riveting, fascinating, and, you know, she was super qualified. We have the suggestion in the comment, of course, ChatGPT the bills. And
yes. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I wanted to bring up there was an interesting little piece of news that started circulating yesterday that I just wanted to offer the fact check on because it's sort of misinformation. As we've been talking about gold absolutely looking like a meme coin lately, and then taking some time for itself because Devin rugged it. This news story started circulating yesterday again, and it was like mega viral. I saw like 4 videos about it on TikTok of this like Ugandan gold deposit, 31 metric tons of gold discovered worth trillions of dollars. And it was like written and rewritten and presented as if this was like just discovered. And it was obviously posted and circulated this way in conjunction with gold's chart falling. as like justification or reason. I just wanted to offer clarification. That news story is from 2022, and it's never been confirmed or verified, and it's very largely and widely by geologists and all sorts of experts heavily speculated and well reasoned on being nonsense or aggressively exaggerated. There's never really been any proof done. So bring your skepticism there, and just know that that story's not new. It has nothing to do with what's happening right now, and it's years old.
Interesting. Beautiful. Then since you mentioned it, let's go to the thing we were saying backstage. Is we were talking to Ski about some of his recent trading and how he's seeing the market, and we learned that something he's doing is shorting gold. So for the people in podcast land, I've got the gold chart on the screen for the last year, and it looks like a roller coaster, up, and then just recently after this top, we've had a little whoop, a dip down, and funnily enough, yesterday it was like a quick pop and stop for Bitcoin and all the other risk-on assets. But my question to you, Ski, is one, did you short the top and then cause this cascade down for all of our gold holders? And how technically does one short gold? And let's
so I am, I'm a libertarian at heart. I believe in sovereignty. I believe in freedom. Freedom is the most core thing about me, and that is why I love crypto in the first place. But a lot of the same ethos of Bitcoin is the same ethos of silver and gold. So I've been a gold and silver stacker the same way I've been a Bitcoin stacker for a decade. I've been buying silver, I've been buying gold for a long time. And when we got to I just felt like we were at mass euphoria. People were literally lining up outside of the bullion shops to buy gold. We were at the 3.618 macro Fibonacci retracement. I've never seen in my life on any chart, decade looking at charts, I've never seen from 1 minute to 1 month chart every single time frame being overbought. And that's how gold was. And I can show you this real quick. I can share my screen if that's okay.
Go for it.
There we go. So this is what, I don't know if it's working. You have to, there you go.
I think I have to. There you go.
So this is what the bullion shops looks like. If this were Coinbase, if Coinbase right now looked like this, like figuratively, if it was number 5 in the App Store, I would be like, it's time to get out. It's time to sell. And this is what gold looks like. And, this being coupled with gold being literally at the 3.61 Fibonacci retracement, gold literally being overbought to the highest degree on the monthly chart since 1979. I just decided to sell 40% of my gold, and I publicly put it out. I'll show it real quick if I can find the daggone tweet here. Here it is.
We need the Jeopardy music.
There we go. So October 16th, 12:15, I am selling 40% of my gold today. And when I tweeted this out, it's not like I have this massive Instagram following or anything like that, but literally like 7 or 8 people messaged me like, why are you selling? Because it was pure max euphoria. And we haven't been, we haven't not been a second higher since this moment, not for a second. And so I've been trading on BitUnex is the one that I've been shorting it, but I sold physical bars of gold. Is what I did. I sold my physical gold because I physically buy silver and I physically buy
okay,
gold.
what does that process look like? Did you go to a bullion shop and stand in line in the cold? And one shop?
So I have a coin shop that I have a relationship with that I buy. Yeah. So I buy silver from him. I've been buying silver from him mostly for I don't know, 7-8 years. So I just I went in there and I sold my gold, and then from that time I was like, man, I'm gonna look for where can I short this, and I found a spot on BitUnex. The pair is XAUT /UST, and we made a pretty good. We had like 115% yesterday shorting it, so. It was a good day in the office.
Dang, someone said ski rugged gold.
Yeah, I rug gold, guys. Sorry, pack it up.
The
See you
only
in 4
rugging
years.
happening here apparently is rugged gold. That's just so. I mean, we've talked about it on a lot of our shows. I think Will had the opportunity to talk about it more on Market Watch Monday. If you haven't seen that, or you're not hip to Market Watch, you're just tuning in for the first time, let me say to all our friends, did you know that every episode of the Rise Up Morning Show, Rise Up After Dark, and Rise Up Market Watch are available for you to listen to or watch after the fact? If you missed something we said, if you had to walk away to take care of your dogs or get coffee, or somebody was talking to you, you had to go buy gold and you lost the signal, then you can find all of our episodes, everything related to the show, at rumshq.com. And if you have a question that we don't see on stream, because there have been a lot of great comments today, I want to invite you to leave them anywhere you listen or in the community, which is community.rumshq.com. Totally free to join. Great place to connect with other crypto users at all levels of experience all around the world. I often say, because it's true, the only thing missing is you. Gentlemen, a couple of rapid fire questions for you. And I would just love your takes on this. Could XRP reach $10?
It's possible, yeah.
Okay.
Not
Sure.
probable. My targets, since people said I was way too bullish back at 30 cents, my targets were $5, $8, $12. I think 5 to 8 is the more probable landing spot. $10 is such a psychological level. I think it's going to be hard to get there, but I think 5 to 8 is more probable.
Okay. Good to know. Alex, you said maybe.
Sure, man.
Sure, man. Okay. I want to remind you. I'd say it
it's-
could go there.
I mean, yeah, it could. It could also sit in the $2
Not my
for the next
target.
10 years.
Yeah.
Certainly
It
could do
doesn't.
that.
It doesn't have to go up for the people who make money from XRP to continue to do their thing. Just like
Yeah.
ICP doesn't have to recover for Definity to continue making money to fund their research.
Yeah,
It's just the way that it's the way that the thing was built. The thing was built to keep people dependent and reliant on the idea that it could go there. But
I'm
it doesn't
happy
have
I
to.
sold 40% at $3.33.
Literally
Yeah.
bought the farm with XRP. Alex, the king of token predictions, thank you very much. And the other question that I saw
Well,
is
it's just like just for clarification, I see lots of doom and gloom and whatever. Sorry. I'm just not gonna lie to put a positive spin on something. We just live in a time where we can sit here and give a very rational explanation about why something is under or overvalued or appropriately valued, and why revenue and growth projections mean that this should rise to this price and this whatever. And then the footnote to all of it is none of that really matters, because this market is so manipulated and so heavily dependent on the desire of those doing the manipulating and the string pulling for it to go wherever. And it's going to go right now. It's going to go where they want, which sucks, because I think there's all kinds of stuff that really doesn't make any sense in terms of, what's valued at what. So, could XRP go to $10? Sure. Of course it could. It's crypto. It could go there next week.
I'll say this too. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
As someone that XRP has been near and dear to my heart for 5 years now, my average price is about 30 cents. I have no interest in accumulating XRP unless it's under $1. I am perfectly happy with my bag right now, and I don't think that it's kind of in this neutral spot where it's not really overvalued and it's not really undervalued, but I don't really have any interest in accumulating it here.
Yeah. I just want to highlight these comments that say, look at that, Alex, bullish on XRP, and wow, Alex is so positive.
I mean, the thought could be, could crypto whatever go to whatever price? Yes. Also, the guy up the street who lives in that gorgeous beach house could knock on my door this afternoon and be like, you know what, Alex, you're such a nice guy. You're so handsome. Take the keys to my house. And here's my Bentley. Go ahead. Theoretically, he could do that. But am I living my life based on the hope and expectation that he does that one day? No, that would be silly. And XRP to whatever is the exact same type of silly.
We got Keith said, I think I entered an alternate universe, and Tech CEO says Alex RP.
Okay, wait, hold on. I have to ban Tech CEO for that. That's way too catchy, and it's definitely going to be a problem for me.
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely going to be a problem. Alex RP to the moon, baby.
That's obnoxiously good, and I'm really sad that that's in the universe now.
Let's get Alex RPs in the chat.
We got to get some merch off of that for sure.
Damn it.
I'm going to make you a custom hat that just says XRP, letters ALE, like tiny.
God damn it.
The next question, Ski, is for you, and this does not have to be rapid fire, but could you explain Fibonacci retracement? And if you got a vision, I'm happy to share.
If I'll share my screen real quick, and I'll just give a quick little. I'll give a Cliff Note lesson on it. We'll go over here. So the basic idea for me personally, this is not, a lot of what I do is, there's traditional ways of thinking about it, and then there's like Ski's way of thinking about it, and I'm very hippy dippy. The universe is coded and this and that. So to me, the source code is Fibonacci's, whether it's the Mona Lisa or Hurricane, whether it's, you just find Fibonacci's as the source code. And I'm not trying to tell anyone what to believe or how to think, but to me, it's all ones and zeros. We're in the matrix, and this is the source code. So a Fibonacci retrace is, you go from a accumulation, you go to a parabolic rise, and then you go into distribution, and then you'll come back down to a bottom. So a retrace, I consider I always give the methodology of like a ball. You drop a ball from the top of the mountain, and we don't know what this ball is made out of. Maybe it's a bowling ball. Maybe it's a bouncy ball. Who knows? But if you were to hold a ball from the top and drop it to the bottom, hold the ball from the top and drop it to the bottom. A very common move in stocks, crypto, is a dead cat bounce. And this is a retrace, which would be to the 618 Fibonacci retrace, is the textbook move, but technically it is, which is the golden pocket, but technically it's between the 0.5 and the 702. That would be a retrace.
So let me just pause you there to ask some clarifying questions, because you said a lot of stuff that I think somebody hearing this for the first time won't understand. You said golden pocket, you said dead cat bounce. How do you, what are these things? And
okay, so dead cat bounce would be like if I hold a ball, like so. Let me get my hand on screen here. If I have a ball, like imagine that this is a ball, and imagine that this is the floor. If I just drop it, it's going to bounce 50 to 70%. So that's what the 702 Fibonacci retracement is. It's 70% of the all-time high, and the 0.5 is 50% of the all-time high. So if I drop it like a regular ball, it's going to bounce 50 to 70% depending on what it's made out of. That is called a dead cat bounce, that particular move. And the golden pocket is the same ratio, like that the Earth and the Sun. It's the 618, the 1618. It's the golden.
And
ratio.
Just for people in podcast land who never heard it, I want to tell you about the screen. You've got 0, then you've got 0.236, 0.382, 0.5, 0.618, 0.702, and so on and so forth. You could Google Fibonacci numbers to see these like in order. Mm-hmm. It's a ratio. I don't know what the math is to get from one Fibonacci number to the next, but it's slightly larger gaps every time.
Yeah, to me, if you're going to do this based off of crypto, the truth is market cap. Despite what the XRP army will tell you, market cap, we're measuring how many dollars are invested. And so where did I get that number, $3.33? Because we barely made an all-time high in price. But when you factor in inflation, which is market cap, when you measure market cap, $3.33 was the 1618 Fibonacci retracement. That's why I took profit there.
Got it. And I want to read this comment from Glenn, super helpful, that says, simply key areas where the price is likely to return before making its next move up or down. So point for Glenn. Please continue.
Yeah, so like that's a dead cat bounce. And then if we go like, if you hear parabolic, generally to me, that's like price discovery is the 1618, parabolic is 2618, and then 3618, which by the way is where gold is. This is what I consider to be maximum likely parabolic. Like it can go higher, but this is the most, like, if we're not living in banana land zone, this is where typically things will go.
Got it. Meaning in a euphoric state, when something drops, it's going, this is the moon that we talk.
I'll show you Bitcoin real quick, just to, really put a cherry on it, because Bitcoin has done this, multiple times here. This is my trade the news you will lose chart. But if you look at, if you pull from the Fibonacci from the very top to the very bottom in 2017 through 2018, where do you see that Bitcoin went to?
I see it looks like, I don't know which one it is, but.
So the 3618 maximum parabolic.
Yeah.
That's exactly where the 2021 top went to. And you can see it like wicked above, but the base of the move was 63,000. You can see lots of trading points at that point. So that's just a simple thing to keep in your, it's not everything. Nothing is everything, but everything is something. And this is a piece to the bigger puzzle that you can simply add to your arsenal. And if the tool works for you, take it from the toolbox. If not, just leave it where it's at.
Just leave.
I think me and Alex were both mechanics. So
it's true. If it ain't broke.
If
it's a lever right there. Unfortunately, that chart is not free. The Fibonacci is not free. This is a trading view indicator, right, Ski?
Fibonacci is free. Fibonacci is trading view. There is a paid version. There's a free version. Fibonacci does have a free version.
And if somebody wanted to learn how to like draw it over their chart, I imagine they would just type Fibonacci trading view tutorial and would probably find some helpful YouTube videos. Yeah.
Maybe there's lots of, just like with crypto, there's a lot of noise, and it's hard to decipher what is real, what's not. I would say, trust yourself. You could listen to all, but trust yourself. And that goes with me for everything. Like, listen to all, but really ultimately you're going to have your best interests. And I don't think that there's a substitute for, there's no quick fix for learning TA. There's no like, oh, I'm going to watch a 17-minute YouTube video and now I'm this expert. But so there's no substitute for just getting in the charts and trying to figure out what do you see, like where, and then kind of refine that and don't get shiny object syndrome.
Okay, we had another question that was asking if we could just give a helpful take on the difference between like an ecosystem worth paying attention to. Alex, you said it the other day, and I'm struggling to remember how it was because it was phrased really beautifully. You said something like it doesn't add value that is meaningful to you. You were talking about the difference between tokens that go up and down in price and something that you think is worth paying attention to. And I was trying to think of an example, and from the comments, somebody was asking about Avalanche, and I thought that would be worthwhile to talk about maybe as an example because it's going up and down in price a lot, but there's also a lot that we happen to know is happening there that I would say is probably substantive, or at the very least contributes to mind share. And on the way over there, while you guys think about it, maybe there's a better way we can just do a round robin of like you said, Alex, speculation is the biggest driver of price here, but how we spot something fundamental, something worth paying attention to. And the thing I wanted to show while you're thinking about it is, did you guys see the news about Kadena?
Yeah, that was shocking.
It was honestly shocking. Okay, Alex, get ready. For anybody who's not in touch, Kadena is one of many layer 1 networks. It's a proof of work network. A couple years ago, it was really hot and trendy to launch an alternative to Bitcoin. Caspa came out of this movement. Kadena came out of this movement. There were several that said, Bitcoin is great, but we're going to make a better proof of work token. And that's like a narrative, is like ETH, but better, Bitcoin, but better, right? They say we could build better tech, and they're hoping that they can achieve the network effects, but network effects are very hard to replicate, mostly about serendipity. Anyway, rant aside, Kadena, out of the blue, out of nowhere, announced yesterday, the Kadena organization is no longer able to continue business operations and will be ceasing all business activity and active maintenance of the Kadena blockchain immediately. And as you might expect, their token lost like 80% of its value pretty promptly. It fell off a total cliff. And sometimes that happens in crypto. Somebody's building and then they're not. They just run
Well,
out of money, or they sell the company, or they move on. Or go ahead, brother.
to answer to tie this into your first question,
Yes.
to me, a principle that is very important to me. There's a few things I look for, like whether a project is worthwhile investing or not. But a principle in life and a principle in crypto for sure is like, how are you when you get punched in the mouth? Because if you've never been through hard times, I need to see how you respond to that, because it's easy to front run. It's easy to be awesome when everything is awesome. But what are you really in the heat of battle? What are you really when your feet are to the fire? Because a lot of people say, well, like, oh, it made me do this, this, and this. But it's like, no, I think it revealed to what you correctly are at your core. And so a principle for me is like, I want to see a project that's been through a bear market. I want to see a project that has been hit in the mouth. And I know there's lots of great projects that haven't been, but to me, that is a principle, at least some big adversity that they've overcome. To me, that's a principle for friendships. That's a principle for investing. That's a principle, it's a good principle in life.
Yeah. So that coming back to this question, then Kadena is one of those tokens, one of those networks, I think, that had, some activity. I wouldn't have put it as like a mainstream contender, but nobody really expected this. It just kind of came out of nowhere that this company was like building a layer 1 proof of work. They have a token, people mine it. And so this is really shocking and surprising. I would have passed up Kadena because I think proof of work is great. I don't pay a lot of attention to tokens that are trying to be something else but better, when the something else, the Bitcoin, the ETH, whatever, has mostly succeeded due to, as I say, network effects. Like, you could make Bitcoin faster, cheaper, but it would be really difficult to create something that would outcompete Bitcoin from a perspective of governments want to use it, companies want to buy it, people around the world hold it, operate nodes, maintain the network. A lot of that is honestly probably due to like luck and serendipity. So, do you have any thoughts on that, Ski? I mentioned Avalanche as like an example of one of those things that's like stuck around because it's kind of in the middle. Kadena's on the other end of like trying to be something else. And I guess,
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with this?
I think one of the biggest problems with Kadena, which would be like a second principle for me, is tokenomics. And HBAR to me is the one that made me really hyper aware. And maybe I'm like hypersensitive even to tokenomics and bad tokenomics. But because there was like, a little bit inflation, they diluted the supply a little bit in 2022. Not that they created more supply, but they front loaded some of the scheduled inflation in 2022 to sort of survive that bear market. And I don't blame them. But if the dollar sucks because they're printing it to oblivion, like for some reason we give cryptos a pass because it's crypto, even though they're diluting the supply the same. And I think one of the biggest issues with Kadena is it did not have great tokenomics, and there was a decent bit of inflation. And if if every dollar that you invest eventually becomes like you need to invest $3, $4, $5 to equal that $1, that's an uphill battle, and it's hard to overcome that. And in a lot of ways, like the only people that benefit from that is the team.
Alex, you rugged for a moment, but did you have a thought on this just phenomenon of like how to distinguish hype, activity from value?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay.
Trying to succinctify them.
Really good one. The thing that sticks out to me that you often say, and you don't have to say this, but it's often about the reminder that this is all a startup. Everything here is a startup.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It's very important to recognize the specific flavor of investing that we're all participating in the crypto space in, which is called venture investing. And by buying investments in these types of projects, you are behaving as a small venture capital firm, regardless of how much capital you're allocating. That's the way you have to look at these things. VCs don't take 100% of their available capital and put all of it into one startup because they really like the mascot. They spread it out. They expect many to fail. And I think, I mean, you know, the lesson would be don't let yourself, I mean, people, I didn't come up with this, you know, don't marry the bag, which basically just means like, don't become so blinded by your like fandom of a thing that you can't read the signs that are in front of you that, you know, spell that something has a major issue. Not to take the battle tested one, because I think that's a good one. I would definitely put that on my list, but I would probably say I'm going to crutch on revenue again. If someone launches a thing and they tell you that it's good, that doesn't mean anything compared to whether or not anyone in their target audience, their target user base agrees with it. And you would be able to tell that if that project had any revenue. So I'm really, truly not interested at this point in my investment career into startups in the crypto space of taking risks with my money on anything that hasn't proven that they've at least accomplished some degree of product market fit. And they've been able to sustain that for an amount of time to prove to me that like enough people believe that this thing is worth their time, energy, money, whatever value assessment, because that's when the hype goes away. Example would be, yeah, Avalanche is a great example. They still have users. They still have people, you know, building and launching things, doing stuff. They're still, you know, operating, chugging along, doing whatever, signing partnerships, doing the whole thing, even though in the news doesn't look great, from like a, you know, crypto Twitter assessment place that kind of hitched their wagon to the gaming thing. Gaming is in the dumps right now. Doesn't have a lot of excitement, attention. You know, the hype ran out of that cycle, and now is time for something to actually matter to come out of it.
Like what is the most like fundamental thing about the stock market, and like what is the biggest thing is like the revenue or the, you know, the earnings report. Yep. So like I don't you know the principles of finance are the principles of finance. I think that's a great one. You know, do they make money? That's a good indicator. Is does this company have life or not?
Okay, we have another couple of really good questions here that I want to ask. I want to on the way to this question, remind everybody that it is about that time when we're going to start to ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset. I'm going to ask a couple of questions for Ski specifically after this one, and I want everybody's answer in the comments on this. This question comes from GB1020. Hello, hope your candles are green. Round robin question. Bitcoin this cycle. Is it 1, already peaked, 2, still to peak in 2025, or 3, will peak in 2026? Already peaked, will peak this year, will peak next year. Our guest, Ski, you go first, brother.
Okay. I would be lying to you if in 2022, my targets for Bitcoin, I had 4 of them when Bitcoin was at 20K. I had 48K as a retracement, like we talked about, dead cat bounce. I had 118 as the price discovery target, then 138, and then 207. Those have been my 4 targets since 2022. So we have already hit 2 of those targets. So is it possible that Bitcoin has peaked? I think it's entirely possible. I do think that Bitcoin will get into the 130s, but I don't think, as far as like an ROI perspective, I don't think there's a lot of gas left for Bitcoin. And we see this, you know, whether it's going to be different this time, it's going to be the same, it's going to be different but the same but different. I think what we're seeing that is the same, the principles that are the same, is gold is going parabolic. Gold is going to distribute into the Russell. The Russell is going to distribute. Bitcoin is going to distribute into some of the other more speculative things. A big mistake that I think that people make, especially in the bear market, though, is they have way too much other cryptos, and I think that Bitcoin should always be the biggest substantial part of your portfolio. That's my personal opinion.
Alex, what about you? Bitcoin already peaked, yet to peak before the end of the year, or peaking in 2026?
I am not going to do anybody listening to the show the disservice of listening to me pull a nonsense guess straight out of my ass. I have no idea. I would say that Bitcoin is one of those things that, to me, feels like it's a long-term thing for me. I don't, short-term I'm garbage at. I'm next to useless at, especially when the market is this manipulated, because the wrong set of tweets in tandem with each other could literally change the fundamentals of exactly the answer that your 8-ball is about to give as you shake it up over there is going to be literally better than whatever I could come up with.
Warming it up for a good one. Take your time.
What I would literally say is my cop-out answer, but unfortunately it's the only one that I can confidently say on the air. Bitcoin higher eventually, because it doesn't make any sense that it's not as, not more widely accepted, not more people are into it. It's a messaging, optics, and marketing problem at this point. It deserves to be significantly higher than it is.
You're betting against the dollar, and that's a safe bet.
Yep.
That is a safe bet. I'd take that bet all day. And I will defer to the 8-ball, but in the meantime, my guess, if I had to say, based on all this we're getting, the fear and greed index right now is showing a pretty low and going lower trend number. We're at 29 according to CoinMarketCap, and look at this little chart for the people in podcast land. It was at a peak around the time of the election. It came down to a trough and then back up during the summer, and now it's working its way down to another trough. And I expect that we're going to go maybe middling. I'll defer to the bottom feeler for how low you think we're going to go, but my guess is peak in 2026, and the 8-ball says Lambo soon.
Damn it, 8-ball.
I will say, just based off of sentiment and vibes, I don't. If we're gonna make a new low, sure. Like someone said, 92K. Like sure, that anything is possible in the matrix. I would say that it would be what is the most painful route, and we just got $20 billion liquidated down. I don't see that happening. At least in I think I've already tweeted out that I think that the 28-day low is in. So that would be October 10th, whenever that happened. So I don't think we're taking out those lows for at least a couple of weeks. And I would suspect, with the way that sentiment is, that we would at least make a push to the top of the range again before any sort of a new price action happen.
Okay. Excellent question. Excellent answers. Lots of people say it's already peaked. Lots of people say it's going to peak this year. People are saying 2026. Some people are with Alex. They say it doesn't really matter. It'll go, Steckler has said before, I didn't catch if he said it this time, to the right. And usually it does.
Correct.
Ski, one of the other questions that people have for you specifically is, what else are you looking at? You're shorting gold, but what in this moment in the market does your portfolio look like? What kind of moves are you considering, or are you looking to make, maybe let's just say through the end of the year, or do you think that far ahead?
Yeah, for sure. I'm a decade investor. Above all, people think that I'm a day trader because I do these challenges. I'm not a day trader. I am an investor above all. I am an investor of real estate. I'm an investor of Bitcoin. I am an investor. That is what I am above all. And for me, like, the principles are, I want to see something that's been punched in the mouth. I want to see good tokenomics. I want to see what I believe to be Wyckoff accumulation in the macro chart, which would be a bottoming structure, if you will. So when you factor in those things, my portfolio is super boring. I want, I almost view Bitcoin almost separately, because I don't view Bitcoin as, Alex was kind of as like a VC play. To me, it's a separate thing entirely. And to me, that's just my preservation. That's what I save my money in. I save my money in Bitcoin. So that's almost separately than everything else. I have some real estate. I have some land. I still have some gold. I still have some silver. I am looking to get rid of my gold, and I'm looking to get rid of my silver at this particular point. But as far as cryptocurrencies go, I like the dinosaur coins that are trying to do things. I like VeChain a lot. I like HBAR a lot. I like it. AVAX is a solid play to me. To me, I'm just looking at low risk to high reward relatively. Like, everything is extremely risky, but if you look at like this big accumulation over multiple months, multiple years, what is the likely risk? Like, of course, like, dinosaurs can invade, meteors can strike, whatever.
Sure.
It's like, it doesn't matter then. It's like, oh, what about nuclear war? It's like, I'm not worried about Bitcoin if there's nuclear war or whatever. So with that, it's like likely risk of like you see this multi-year low, and then what is the upside potential? I'm looking at, you know, the coins that are what I can consider to be real players trying to do real things. Solana, HBAR, VeChain, you know, just the boring coins. And that's it.
Beautiful. I have a couple more questions for you if you have time to wrap it with us before final thoughts, but I want to give Alex the chance to give his final thought, a last question, a good joke, word of wisdom, or if you need a re-roll from the 8-ball, Alex, now's your chance. I know you got to ride your dog and your pony, so my friend, the floor is yours.
The only like prediction-esque type thing that I would toss into this whole thing as we're talking about things for the end of the year is that just remember that tax loss harvesting is a thing. Wash trading is still legal in crypto, and it'll probably happen like it always does at the end of the tax year. So if you're like holding, you know, long term, just expect that markets will probably do what markets do. I saw some comments about like the holiday pop or the Santa rally and stuff like that. But after that comes the wash trade when everyone sells a whole bunch of stuff, lock in losses, you know, all that good stuff. So just keep that in mind.
Beautiful. Thank you. He's your friend and he's mine, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alex Popovich. Thank you, brother, for another great show.
See you guys.
Safe travels to you, because Alex is going to be out for After Dark. He's going to be out for the morning show tomorrow. You're just going to have to send him your miss you, Alex messages in the Rise Up community.
It's true. One of you guys are going to have to be grumpy instead.
We'll think about it. See, people want to know before you go, and I have a couple of other questions for you. HBAR follow-up, what is it you like about it?
So I talked about the tokenomics, and they front-loaded a lot of the supply dumpage. To me, short-term, that sucks. And I think it could have done a lot of better things this time around. But long-term, it's a great thing because it's not like there's new supply that was created. It's just they front-loaded what will be diluted onto the market. And as far as what they do, like I think they're building cool things more tailored towards not retail, I guess, like would be, businesses and things of that nature. But I like their speed. I like their sharding technology. To me, like Ethereum was such a nightmare because I used to mine Ethereum pretty heavily, and just waiting 10 minutes for a transaction. I know that they've gotten a lot better, but HBAR was the first one where I was like, I hit send, I looked up at my phone and the transaction was already there. And I'm like, this is a miracle from God. I'm so like, you know what I mean? Like it was amazing. So I'm bullish on their technology. I'm bullish on their team. And I'm bullish on their tokenomics and their chart as well.
So do you compare them to Ethereum then? Because I see it as an unhelpful comparison because HBAR is like a closed corporate chain and Ethereum is like the on-chain internet for everybody.
It's kind of its own thing, honestly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it as like an Ethereum takeover type thing.
Yeah.
That would be more, I think, maybe Solana, I guess. But it's kind of its own thing. It's like maybe the Solana version of, corporations in that whole world.
All the comments about sharding with a D, my friend, something to break it into pieces. Go look that up. Ask your GPT about blockchain infrastructure, architecture, sharding with a duh.
Bullish on sharding.
Yeah, bullish on sharding for sure. You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself on that one. Folks want to know where they can catch up with you. What other platforms do you live on? Do you have a community where people can get in touch with you, ask you questions, that kind of thing, and follow your content?
I'm on YouTube at Yaboyskey, YABOYSKEY. And I'm on Twitter at Gajeski. That's my last name, GAJEWSKEY. You could also probably type in Yaboyskey and I'll come up. TikTok, Yaboyskey, and then Skis Crypto is my main one. I'm on Instagram at Yaboyskey. I will never message you though. So if Yaboyskey or Skis Crypto or someone with my name, image, or likeness messages you, I promise you it is not me. It's somebody from Pakistan, Kakistan, Afghanistan, but it's not me.
Yeah. They want to know, how is your trading going? Or peace and blessings, or greetings. Yeah. Greetings. Where do they get greetings from? I don't know. Ski, you've been really gracious. We've gotten a lot of time to unpack a lot of stuff, but I want to tell folks my takeaway from getting to hang out. I'm so glad that we got to have you on the show, and I hope you'll come back sometime soon. And we won't pick on you or grill you. We'll always give you a chance to speak to FUD, to share your questions and your thoughts. But I want people to know that the first time we got to sit down together in person was when this brother invited me, knew I was going to be in town to go get dinner with him, and bought my barbecue, and we sat and talked, and he was talking about content creation tips, and he was sharing his backstory. We got to know each other, and I really, really enjoyed it. You struck me as somebody who was sincere, who wanted to just help your fellow man, and I appreciate that about you. So I would tell everybody to check Ski out, and especially check out his content about the farm. This brother has the most beautiful piece of land and is turning it into a space for life.
Yes,
not just his family's, but life. And I think it's so cool.
That's at Ski's Farm on YouTube and TikTok. And my whole goal with that is I just think that there is a shortage of really good quality food. I care about my family, and I care about bringing quality food to my family and to my community. And so that's what we're trying to do. As far as, I appreciate all the questions for being grilled on Solnic. If I can't handle, the heat, then I got to stay out of the kitchen. And so I feel like I handled it as well as one could have. I'm not here to be anybody's savior. I'm not here to be any of that stuff. I think that, and I'm not, trying to convince anybody of anything. Somebody asked me, are we still on Solnic? I'm not telling you to buy Solnic, but I'm telling you that I will be developing apps, the documentary, the dApps for that for the next 10 years. And what we're doing, I'm not going to say, but what we're working on, the whole reason that I'm doing that is to have, capital for Solnic. So that's my whole mission. Like, my mission was to get the farm legacy for my family. And now I understand that this is tied to my legacy. So as long as there's blood in my veins, I'm going to be developing that.
Yeah. And have you got a final thought? Last ask, word of wisdom, good joke for the audience before we sign off today.
I will never message you first.
And Alex from the comments says, take profit. Don't bag hold anything, especially memes. I appreciate that. If you've got a final thought and you didn't get it in, then hey, have you joined the community? I'm talking about community.rumshq.com. It's a simple to use, like a Facebook group, plus a couple of extra features interface where you don't have to worry about scammers and schemers, where you can ask a question, you can share what you know, you can learn and grow with others. And we say, rise up. We would love to see you there. And of course, we'll be back tonight. Rise Up After Dark is live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going live with Andrew from Awaken Tax to answer all your crypto tax questions. Then tomorrow, same time, same place, the morning show is back. And who do we have on the morning show? I'm totally blanking on it, and I absolutely cannot believe that I'm doing this to myself. It'll be a surprise. You're going to have to tune in. Who the hell
Find
is
out
it?
next time on Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I absolutely hate when this happens. I know it's going to be somebody great. And of course, we've got the Circle After show too. So don't miss it. Oh my God, it's Rudo. Our friend Rudo Giancarlo from Polygon is coming back to make a special announcement for an opportunity that they have created, that we have teamed up on to bring you into the content creation game. They want to hear user stories. They're going to reward you for doing it. We think it's very cool. And Rudo is coming on the show. Will Watson will be back, and we are going to give you all the details of a special partnership live. So stay tuned for that. And until then, everybody, stay safe. Be well. My friends, everybody rise up.
Thanks for having me on, guys.